And who's your favorite Marvel Comics hero? Mine is Superman. Remember the motto? With great power comes great responsibility. Have a great night, everyone. We'll see you again at 6.
I'm out of video, so someone has to send me a video ASAP.
I'd fire her instantly. Gone. That's horrible reporting. Gonzo.
There's a new broadcaster right now that's on par with her. She goes in front of a Gundam, and she goes like, "I'm in front of a Transformers today."
Oh wow!
And I was like, "Ooh." Someone sent me the video, and I was like, "Oh man, I don't want to use that one."
I thought it was intentional.
I think it sounds intentional.
Yeah,
a little
like
bit.
when I mess with people when they're like, "Oh, you're a big Star Wars fan," and it seems like the kind of guy who like will gatekeep me, and I'm like, "Yeah, my favorite captain is Spock." Like that's.
No.
Oh wow!
You shouldn't be able to do that.
Wow, that's all right, you guys. I'm so sorry about that.
Cece just lost one of her Star Wars notches.
Tonight's show is just about you too. I was going to ask you this important Star Wars question, and now, oh god,
credibility.
Yeah. Shiva went. Oh,
I'm gonna have back pain from like carrying the weight of the show tonight. I'm just warning you.
Wow.
Wow.
Is that a fat joke?
I'm curious now because in context, because no one else has context. Like right before we went on, Steve was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, the topic I think is really for you," and I'm like, "Okay."
I saw a bunch of videos.
Like, intelligent shit.
Yeah, well, I think you'll get it once I bring it up. But like, I saw a bunch of like Star Wars stuff about a certain helmet that got released. So I was like, "What's going on over there?" Yeah. I still don't even understand, or I don't even know if I'm going to ask it correctly. But we'll see how far we go.
Okay.
Yeah, but John, man, how's your day? How's your weekend gone?
Good, busy. I say it every week. Time is flying by. Weekend sucked. It was just raining, so just inside chilling. Yeah, it was just inside chilling with the family. Watched a new show that's like messes you up emotionally. It's called Beef.
Oh, okay.
Have you heard of Beef? You haven't heard of it?
I've seen it on. Is it Netflix? But I haven't watched.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't have Netflix. I don't have anything except for HBO.
It's worth a watch. It was really interesting. But other than that, yeah, just chilling.
Oh, Beef is about like the car.
Yeah, he's backing up, and then a woman stops and it honks, and gives him the finger, and then boom, what it causes, how it causes the whole story to kind of like unravel is crazy.
What's that called again? Is it Road Rage?
Road Rage, yeah.
Do you guys have that?
Oh, I am 100%
yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
It's me.
Wow.
I almost did it today. I was driving on the highway, almost did it, and then I'm like, wait a second. You have a 1.5-year-old in the back. Relax. So I caught myself. But when I was by myself, oh yeah. I will rip you to shreds driving.
Oh, wow. Wow. I got in a bad car accident a while back, like I think 7 years back, and I messed up I messed up my face, my arm, and everything.
Oh wow!
But like, so I drive like a grandpa now. I'm always on the right side, and I'm just slow as crap, and then I don't care anymore. Somebody cuts me off, I'm like, whatever. But Cece, what's your story behind that? Your road rage?
Well, so like I do watch it just because you never like people are crazy and you never know like what could happen. So I don't. It has to be a lot for me to like flip someone off, but I will be like cursing up a storm. That's actually why I rarely talk on the phone while I'm driving, like the Bluetooth, just because I think that sometimes like people make stupid mistakes on the road as is, yet alone if I'm distracted by talking to someone on the phone. But the times I am on the phone, I'm driving. Besides the fact that you could hear it, it's a lot of like, gas is on the right. Fucking get out of the way, like that kind of stuff. Yeah, I've definitely noticed I have very little patience for people, or I'll see people do like stupid maneuvers that almost cause accidents, and I'm like, what is your problem? Like, it costs nothing to just go to the next exit or just figure your own shit out and like not try to kill me while you're doing that. Like that's just try to be a little considerate of not killing people on the road and stuff. And knock on wood, I've only been on I've only been in one accident, and it was a hit and run, and it was not my fault. Someone hit me and took off, and it
Those
was when I
Star Trek
worked.
fans.
I know.
They're watching right now.
It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. It was sucked. I was going to work. I worked at 5 p.m. I don't know how I did it. You know? And I was so happy because I got up and I went to Starbucks and I was like, I'm gonna get to work early with Starbucks. Like this is an amazing morning. And I instinctually looked at my rearview mirror. I do every 2 seconds anyway.
Hey, Cece, your audio's going in and out. Sorry.
I'm plugged into. I'm not on Wi-Fi.
No, you're good.
It's way better now. Yeah. I don't know. It was going in and out. You were smiling. I was like, "There's a joke in there."
They heard it. They were interfering.
Okay.
You're perfect now. Yep.
But yeah, so I saw headlights in my rearview mirror coming up off of a ramp, and I just remember seeing that car, and then it's the bang, and they basically merged into me and hit me and kept going. I think they just didn't expect anyone else on the road at that hour, or they were high because it is Colorado, and so people rarely stop if they're high and driving and whatever. So, but yeah, I knock on wood, I've never caused an accident or been in one that was my fault.
So I guess quick story time. Like the car accident I got into was on an interstate or freeway is like how they call it, whatever. But like there was 3 cars and there was a truck, regular pickup truck, 3 cars in front of me. The hood popped off and he just like went way off, and I started laughing so hard. I was like, it was like 4 a.m. because I was driving north from North Carolina, and like and I was like laughing my ass off. I was like, that's what you get. Like, that's what, like, you should close your hood, lock it like before you leave and everything. And then boom, the car behind them crashed into that car. And I was laughing my ass off even more. I was like, oh my God, it's happening. And the car in front of me, it was like a good distance. I told you guys, I drive like a freaking grandpa. Like it stopped like on like whatever. But I hit that car and I hit it really hard. I was driving a Mini Cooper at the time, and then like I swear a 16-wheeler was behind me, and all I could think was like, my arm is shot, my face is like the airbag hit me really hard too, or like I started bleeding everywhere, like the heat like burned my face, and I was like, I was like my car could still go, it's on drive, so I lifted up my left arm and pulled the wheel to the right, and I was like, oh, like I would have died if I didn't like lift up my arm at least and moved it towards the right, but yeah. Oh, yeah. Right after that, the guy in front of me, he came up to my car. He said, "Hey, man, I'm gonna call the hospital. Like, I'm gonna call ambulance, and I'm gonna get someone to pick you up. But I gotta go." And I was like, "What are you talking about? You gotta go?" It's funny because the truck disappeared, the car behind him disappeared, and the car in front of me was like, "I'm gonna go try to track them." And I was like, "What are you gonna do?" I was like, "I don't care. Just get out of here." And he went off. Like all 3 of them, yeah, hit and run. I think it was like 3 months. 3 months later, though, they found them all. So I was like, yeah. But sorry, not to one up you or anything. Yeah, like
that's crazy. You have to be so careful, man, because these people don't know how to drive, especially on the highways. They just pump the brake without even thinking about people behind you going 100, 130.
Yeah, they put their blinker on. They're like, "I'm going to take a right 3 lanes over."
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. But Cece, I'm sorry. How's your day? How's your weekend going?
It was an okay Monday. It was definitely a Monday. I have a part-time job that's like a weekend job, and that Saturday it was slow. Yesterday I got my ass handed to me. So I'm still feeling it today, honestly. I woke up just not my jam. I forget what else I did. Oh, I was in a meeting at like 9 o'clock this morning. So I'd been there an hour, and I just reached in my pocket and I still have my car keys like in my pocket. And I'm like, okay. And I just like set them on the table. I'm like, I guess I didn't even like get unpacked when I got into the door. That's fine. But otherwise, good. Yeah, good so far. It's going to be a busy week though. Not only with May the 4th, but like I've got a bunch of work stuff going on. Cramping my style.
Oh man. Okay. Well, let's get into Star Wars a little bit. So I don't know if this is a two-part question. What is going on with Lineage? What's the whole story behind Lineage, and what's going on behind the scenes with the, I guess, I don't know if it's custom Star Wars helmet or a upcoming Star Wars replica helmet. Like I don't know if you could set that up.
So, yeah, if you don't know, because like it's not, I always feel weird talking about props because not everyone, I feel like Hot Toy statues, everyone either knows what they are or knows enough about them that they could talk about them. But props are very unique and different, and not everyone collects props. But I said for quite a while about doing a Leia Bausch helmet with the electronics and everything else. RS, if you're not familiar, and I'm biased, I'm also friends with them. All of the helmets and the armor they do has lineage. Lineage is, it means they could, the piece that you're buying was made with the assistance of something related to an original. An original meaning either something that was production made or screen used. Typically it's production made. So like this helmet is an RS helmet, the Scout. They wouldn't have made this Scout had they not had access to either a production made original Scout from Return of the Jedi, or they were able to buy at auction the molds that were used to make this helmet. So they actually, I think the business started about 10 years ago, because with the fact that they were one of the only people, I think, in existence who had a full head to toe stormtrooper armor. So they had the helmet, everything about it, and it's from that is what they end up creating, like the armor that they sell, the stormtrooper helmet. I have like 3 of their TIE fighter helmets. They actually just recently updated the faceplate to it, because a TIE helmet, if you're not aware, is actually an X-wing helmet with the face of a stormtrooper. So they did that with the stormtrooper they had. They got an updated stormtrooper, just the faceplate, like the hero, which means that it's like the one that was more perfected and like used for like close-ups. That's typically what we call the hero prop. I might be wrong in that, but I know that like the ties I have the updated faceplate. But so the Bausch, everyone knew that they'd been working on it for a long time, and therefore were very enthusiastic about it. And the conversation came up with Lineage a lot in the past week. I had a really busy week last week with the fact that the helmet is quite expensive. Knowing them, I kind of had a price in mind, but it was still a little higher than I was expecting. It was $2,400 for this helmet. Again,
yeah.
For a helmet, yeah. It has electronics. It does have leather, and they're doing their best to use the same leather that was used on the original. They also have access to photos that incorporate every angle of the helmet, so they're not having to guess. It's not like they have, the front, the back, and then they have one side but not the other. Like they have every single angle, so there's no guessing game as far as what it looks like and what paint is involved. But I think the problem is a lot of people heard that number as far as the price, and were like, "That's stupid expensive. Why is it expensive?" And a lot of people threw out the fact that it has lineage, and then it's like, well, why is lineage that expensive? And also, should everything that has lineage be that expensive? And I think it's wrong to suggest that the helmet is priced that way just because it has lineage, because everything they create has lineage. This helmet was less than, I think, $500. Why is this one less than $500, but yet the Bausch is $2,400? I think it has a lot more to do with individual project involving Bausch as far as the turnaround time. They're hoping, praying, promising that they're going to have the helmet ready before the end of the year so that people have it in hand for the 40th anniversary. And that's pretty unheard of when they've done specialty projects, like when they did the Y-Wing helmet and the Boba Fett helmet, which the Boba Fett helmet took 40 hours to paint one helmet. They're still working on some of them. And that project's been over a year, I think, maybe 2 years since they actually like took orders for that Boba Fett helmet. They're not wanting to do that with the Bausch. So they have a crew of 9 people who are all going to be tasked with assisting with this Bausch project. So that factors into the cost as well, because it means that they're not going to be tied up with other things. They're not going to be able to do kind of like their bread and butter, like their other helmets, their commissions, their armor. They're only
They
going to
push
be
everything to
focused
the
on
back.
Bausch. Yeah. Besides like the research and development, so the lineage, and some people even questioned the lineage, and I wholeheartedly disagree with those people and think that they were making ignorant comments just to make ignorant comments. But so the component that has lineage to it is that when they made a mold of, like when they sculpted the Bausch, they made a mold of it. They also made what they call safety. I'm going to say molds, even though that's probably not correct. It's called a buck. It's basically like a big ass piece of. It tends to be like a hard material, like I think maybe concrete or metal, but that's what the plastic will end up being molded against, if that makes
Like a
sense.
cast, basically, right?
Yeah, it's the opposite of like if you were to cast something in plaster and then pour resin into it and then take that out. This is like if I wanted to make one of these. If I was using this in the same way that the Bausch buck is, I would basically use this. I'd make a replica of this, and then the replica is what I would use to like mold plastic on top of, as opposed to covering this in plaster, taking this out, and then putting resin into the plaster to make another one of these. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's a slightly different process. So they bought at auction the safety buck. The safety meaning they made copies of the buck so that if the first one got damaged, they weren't screwed, right? So they bought at auction the safety buck. That's why, and it's got all the imperfections that the original has. So that's the main component, I'd say, that gives that helmet lineage. The other component is they've incorporated found parts and greeblies. What are found parts and greeblies? Sorry, I'm on a TED Talk now, but found parts,
I was
greeblies.
I was gonna try
Go
to get
ahead.
a picture of it really quick. But how do you spell Bausch?
Boushh.
Bounce, chico, bounce.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Sorry.
So to be as accurate as possible, besides the fact that they have lineage to the safety buck, what they've used to make the basically the shell of the helmet, they also found the parts like the greeblies that they could identify that were kind of like stuck on the helmet. So like with the Scout, the most famous like found part or greebly is so this black piece right here is a mic tip, and I think it might be the same one that's used in the Stormtrooper helmet. And then this gray piece right here, this one, that is actually an engine from a model kit. So like the kind of plastic model kits that you get at like Hobby Lobby or Michael's, like a craft store.
Oh yeah.
They took pieces of those. Like the Bausch also has a piece towards the top like right here that is from, it's kind of like the front bumper of a Ferrari car that they just glued on top of that. This is, I think, a motorcycle engine
Wow.
that and this one is actually, they found this piece off of a production made Scout Trooper helmet. They cast that's what this is. So this is like a baby to one of the ones that was used in the movie, if that makes sense. It's a hell as far as like lineage goes. Like the Bausch helmets will basically be product, like if the safety buck is like the mom, they're going to create more from that buck, and the products of that will be like the babies. So
Oh, I can see it now.
does that make sense? That's a
Yeah.
different helmet that's made by a different company, but that certainly gives you a good idea, because they haven't. Another thing that people were upset about, because they're upset
25
about a
bucks
lot.
on Etsy.
I'm sorry.
It's 25
Yeah.
bucks on Etsy right now.
I'll take two.
Yeah.
Right.
I'll get everyone one. Yeah.
Was that? I forget what I was saying before. People are upset about. Oh, so like anything, there's multiple people who make Bausch helmets. So there's some that are like $800, $700. Do I think that they're as accurate as the one that RS is making? Absolutely not. Does it have the same lineage? No. And so I think that's why people have taken this word lineage and tried to either trash it or say that it's not something that collectors really care about or need because it's being used to justify the price of a helmet that most people can't afford. And there's nothing wrong with that. It was sticker shock for everyone, including me, to be fair. But that's like the leather on the back, obviously. There's
I like
leather
that.
on the front.
Mhm.
And I handled the prototype. That's actually their Y-Wing helmet right there, too. If you go up one. No, keep going. Up, just scroll. And then go to the center. See that one, the weird one? Down.
This one?
Nope.
This one?
To the left. That's their Y-Wing helmet. That was a cargo hold exclusive, so another Facebook group that focuses on Star Wars. It took them a while to finish all of them, to be fair, but I think they charged like $600 at the time, and they bought, again, I think like the Bausch, they bought molds at auction that were used to make the original Y-Wings. This sold at an auction recently for like $2,600.
What?
So that was another comment that had me like hashtag triggered, was people were saying that if RS have seen their helmets resell for a lot more than they were originally sold for, is that what they considered when pricing this? And that's not, no one's getting rich or going to retire off of this helmet run. But yeah, that's a really like long-winded conversation about lineage. Steve and Jason and Juan Fernandez, who has a incredible collection. The video I think that they did, you could see some stuff in the background. They discuss lineage and what it means and like why people should care, and also like why it's expensive, or it can be expensive, if it helps. So if you want to check that out over at Rogue 16, I was not on that show, but I think it's still an interesting topic.
So I guess my question, I got a couple questions. Like, John, I don't know if you're too familiar with what's going on with that helmet and like how people reacted to that price hike of, that helmet, I guess. Like, did you hear about it by chance?
I haven't heard of it, no.
So yeah, what Cece was explaining, but my question is like, I guess a major factor of it going up in price I would imagine if they took their time with it, 12, 16 months, however long, if it took that long, do you think the price would have been around $600 to $800, or do you think it still would have been $2,500 or whatever?
No, I don't think it would have been that low. I don't think it's possible. So I don't want to name names, but like there's people who make Bausch helmets. They use real leather. They have electronics, but they're either 3D printed or they don't have lineage to the real prop. So therefore they're not as accurate, and they do the best with that. Those helmets are $700-800. I think it would be next to impossible for someone to recreate a helmet for less than that, with it looking as good as this one's going to, if that makes sense. Like the prototype's not even finished. I don't think that you could even buy the prototype if you wanted to. Well, it's funny you say that. So there is no Etsy link. They sold it on their website. Their website kept crashing. It sold out in 20 minutes. So, which I did not. I was like, it probably was going to sell out in a few days because that's a huge price point. But it definitely seemed like the people who had the worst things to say about it were the loudest. And therefore, all the people who were really excited about it and wanting it were the ones that we didn't really hear from. And they're the ones who were crashing the website trying to get it. So, there's another question you asked, I forget. So yeah, I think that I don't know what the price would be if they weren't having to like derail all of their projects to finish this on time for the anniversary. I have no idea. But I do know that what kind of shot them in the foot was that the Boba Fett they had a cast with lineage, and the paint job was the most complicated thing. And then you could also upgrade for like metal ears that were like as accurate as possible to the real ones. That helmet was, I think, 15 or 1600. So I think the problem with, and that was their most expensive helmet up until that point. I think the problem is the Boba Fett set the bar, and we've said ever since they first released that Boba Fett that it was underpriced for the work that was involved. Given you had one person spending 40 hours painting each one of them, and it took them a lot longer to finish those. Mind you, their whole studio set fire, and they lost about 10 or 15, I think, helmets that were finished, which is obviously, can you imagine how devastating that is for the artist who just spent 40 hours
Time.
each one of them?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that I was expecting like 2100, but it's also going to include a signature plaque from I can't say who, but I'm happy about the
It almost
signature
slipped
plaque.
out. Okay.
I know.
The helmet's coming with a signature plaque.
Yes.
Okay.
And they're going to do a base that's different than, like, this is the base that this is on is a black acrylic. It's the ones that you could buy off their website.
And it's numbered?
It is numbered. They're doing 100.
So this is like literally it. What they call it in PCS, an ultra edition, John. So this comes with all the bells and whistles. Like this is authentic. This is a legacy, or what would you call it, lineage edition, where it's like going back to original art, and then it's limited, and it's also like
fancy and all.
All the bells and whistles with this one. But the crazy thing is what people are arguing about the price. So
people will always compare. People will always argue about the price, but the best thing about it is it's sold out.
That's the crazy part, right? Like,
whine and complain about the price. You don't have the money for it, but people will always have the money for it. There's 100. They're not making 1,000. They're only making 100. And to find 100 people to buy that piece is not difficult. It's not difficult.
And 100 is high. I didn't think that they were actually going to do 100 until I saw the plaques and saw that they were numbered out of 100. So that's the most that they could do. Given how much work is involved, I was expecting it to be a lower edition size, but I think that I think it depends on what stage you are in collecting as well, because I'm at that point where, do I want to keep buying a lot of shit under that price point? Absolutely not.
Yes.
Absolutely not. Like, just because I can afford it doesn't mean I should.
Platinum Amex.
I like this one, Maximus Ultra Extreme Collectible.
So I have a quick question, Cece.
Yeah.
With the helmet, the lineage, we keep talking about the lineage, which is amazing. I think it's an awesome selling feature. As a collector, I think it hits home with a lot of collectors is you want to have a piece as close to the prop as possible. Yep. So lineage allows us to have that, right? But the thing here is, do they include any sort of certificate of authenticity or any, like, I understand the company's coming out and saying, hey, there's lineage behind this piece, but I want something to go with it to kind of state it, whether it's like a certificate with photos or a plaque saying, we took molds. It's just something stating that this was used.
This is an example of the plaques they do for when you don't get a signature, if it helps. So they are aluminum. So this is kind of like the style that I think we're actually I don't want to say too much because I don't want to like ruin it for people, but this one's flat, so it's just gonna like kind of plug into the base. The ones for this are more substantial, where they stand up on their own. They're in the style of another company from years ago that everyone really liked their signature plaques. I don't know where the hell I put my last certificate of authenticity from them, but
they don't do anything that ties. They don't give us anything that'll tie the lineage to the piece. It's just stated on their website.
No, so they are working on something.
Okay.
I just don't want to say a lot.
Okay, fair enough.
What I can tell you from past experience, though, is so I have actually, Steve, if you want to Google it, just in case people are interested, try Googling RS Snowtrooper maquette.
Because I look at a company like Regal Robot, who you look at their Rancor, and you can see, they talk about the lineage, but you can go on their site, you can watch videos, and kind of see them doing their work. So I don't know. It elevates the whole purchasing experience.
See that big gray thing? I think that's an eBay listing. Yeah, so what he's holding, that was the exclusive that we did with RS. Don't ask me when. It was a few years ago, I think. Like maybe last year, 2021. So that came with a booklet that had photos of
Bingo.
how it came to be. And
Yes.
actually, you might be able to scroll and find the photo that's like, I I consider like the money shot.
It's like,
Let me see.
That's what needs to come with these. Is a little pamphlet or booklet that shows the progression, how they used the original prop to make this one, and I think that will tie everything together. The bow on the gift.
Try Googling like get rid of the RS and just put like Snowtrooper concept sculpt. Sorry. But yeah, so this one they did do a little booklet that explained that image at the top row, third from the that one. So what I have in my living room is a cast from the mold that they made. That was the mold that they basically made from this sculpt on this mannequin.
Mm-hmm.
So
you
this
got an
was
autograph too, right?
it's signed by the body cast. So see that like yellow mannequin looking thing? The dude who's paid 25 pounds or 75 pounds to have his whole body cast head to toe for this project, he signed the plaque, as did this gentleman who sculpted the oil-based clay over top of it. So when they were trying to do the Snowtrooper Commander helmet, which is one solid piece, they found molds that they thought were the Snowtrooper Commander, which you only saw one on screen who's standing next to Veers. And what they actually found out when they pulled something out of that mold was this, because it has that like weird smile line that almost looks like it actually kind of reminds me of like a First Order Stormtrooper. And this was the first time that they had ever found anything, because this was the concept stage. Like there would have been no reason to make a mold of that sculpt unless they knew for sure that they were going to be using it again. But what they found when they were trying to do it was that it was too hard to do like that lower piece in solid plastic. So what they did was they just kept the helmet part with the eyes. They cut off that lower part where the white circles are. Like all of that plastic fell away because they couldn't move it anyway. Like you couldn't turn, you had to go like this the whole time anyway. They cut that off. So all you were left with from on the original Snowtrooper helmet was that dome part and the goggles. And then they just glued white vinyl. And so that's the kind of like fabric-y part of the Snowtrooper that we ended up with. And what was cool too is they found out from pulling that mold is that the helmet part with the goggles, like the dome part of it, matched perfectly with the Snowtrooper dome that they already had. So they were even lazier than we thought as far as like, so they did that sculpture. They made a mold of that. They pulled some stuff out of it. They're like, you know what? We don't like this. We don't like this. But they kept the dome for what we end up seeing on screen with the Snowtrooper, which is cool. But so that was the exclusive we did with them. It came with the signature plaque, which you see there next to it. It came with a custom base because it is solid underneath. You can't wear it. And that's actually, I was going to say, that's not Mike's listing, but that's not a bad price actually. So it did come with a little informational booklet that included that photo, which I consider like the money shot. That's a photo of exactly like where you ended up getting this from. And they did a great job matching like the kind of primer gray tones of the clay that was used. So that's the kind of nerdy shit I love. And I don't have any information that they're going to do something like that this round, because that would be unfair of me to say without them saying it first. But it would not surprise me if they did something similar to that. Just to
Start
give you something.
Say, I'm kidding. No, so like I guess John, like to go off like what we're talking about right now, or CC. I don't know if you know what PCS is doing. Like if you've heard the news of the statue company PCS, what they're doing.
So I think I've seen some teasers, but if I'm quite honest with you, I think I'm getting LBS and PCS mixed up, because I remember
Same company.
John being really excited about one, and then I can't remember. I can't
Completely
remember
different.
which was which. So, because I think one of them just got the DC license, did they not?
LBS. Yep.
Okay. So I don't know the situation with PCS right now.
So for my interpretation, their idea of exclusivity is to lower the edition size by a lot, eliminating to I think 175, but then also they're also only going to be selling certain they call it ultra edition and exclusives only through their website, so making it even more exclusive to them, right?
Okay.
Would you consider, or John, would you consider like this, the way they're doing it with like this Star Wars helmet, a better alternative to what they're doing, like what PCS is doing, instead of creating those tier systems and only being
Yeah.
able to get it right?
Like, I understand what PCS is going for, but it's confusing until you get the hang of, and like, I don't have time to go and just read and watch videos. Like, it's too much to go figure out this ultimate and that. Like, make it simple, tell us what's going on, and that's it. Clear and
Yes.
concise. 2023, and that's how these kids are growing up nowadays. Everything has to be at the fingertips, quick. You don't have time to read. Life's too quick already.
But this is what I like about what they're doing with the lineage stuff with Star Wars, what RS is doing, because it gives you a backstory of like the original,
Yeah, but I need to
molders
see
and
the
all that.
backstory. I don't want
Yeah,
to know.
but-
I don't want to know. Here's the helmet, and you're telling me while I'm pre-ordering, but I don't get something. I need something physical.
Right. And you mentioned Regal Robot, and I think that's a great example. Like, you briefly showed like that Tauntaun sculpture next to the helmet. I have that next to mine as well. That Tauntaun, basically, they took the molds that were in the archives of when Phil Tippett sculpted the original. They just made a bunch of copies using the same mold, and voila, that's what you bought. That's what's in your house. And so therefore, they could kind of argue that like you're paying for access with a lot of the lineage stuff, honestly. And Regal Robot, you're paying for the license. RS is not licensed, but A, they wouldn't be able to do nearly what they do if they were licensed. B, they don't have to be, because in, I think it was 2012 or 11, Lucasfilm famously lost a lawsuit where this guy who claimed that he designed and built the Stormtrooper helmets, which it's argued he was not right at all, tried to sue for the rights to copyright the design of the Stormtrooper helmet. The courts in the UK decided that the helmets were industrial design and not art. So the time for Disney to have stepped up and been like, hey, we want to reserve the rights to this, had passed. So that's why RS is able to operate, and you could buy stuff on their website without it being an issue with Disney, so long as they're obviously, everything they make is from the original trilogy. So everything that was Lucasfilm property before Disney got involved.
Yeah, it's okay. We don't want any of that new stuff, anyways.
And then with the like edition size stuff, so it's funny. They used to do the Scout Trooper helmet in two different versions, a red label and then I think a regular one. The difference was in the material, because this is not an easy helmet to make, and I'm going to try to segue into the question about the EFX if I don't get on a tangent. So
I got it.
the Scout Trooper helmet is just very difficult to make. It's made with ABS plastic, and so with RS they made two different versions. I forget what the other one was made out of, but there's one that was cheaper and there's one that was more expensive. The more expensive one was a little more accurate to what you saw in the movies. They finally just went away with that cheaper version. So now the only one you can get is the one that's going to be closest to like the materials and the methods that they used to make the original. So that's another thing with RS, like the educational piece, is this is not heavy. It almost feels like you could flex the plastic in your hands, and there's things that are, the visor's hot glued on the inside. That's because the screen used ones, the production made ones, they're hot glued on the inside. They're not going to do something like make it out of fiberglass so it's heavy duty and you could troop in it just because they want to sell a product that people are able to like troop in. Like they're gonna make it the way as close to as possible as the ones that were in the movie, so that you have something that looks as accurate as possible. Not, you don't have something that's more comfortable or is more appealing because you're able to troop in it or whatever. But the segue I say is regarding the EFX Scout Trooper helmet. I don't have a lot of great opinions regarding the regarding the helmet. I'll warn you now. So for the people who pre-ordered it 9 years ago and finally got it, I'm very happy for them, and I hope they're incredibly happy with the product that they got. Don't get me wrong. But if you're not one of those people who had pre-ordered it, then it's not the helmet I ordered. I didn't think they were actually going to put it up for order anyway. B, I prefer RS for all the reasons we said about Lineage. I don't like that there's a Scout Trooper blaster that has Lineage. They said it has Lineage to Ira Keller, who designed it, his copy, which mine does as well. The one that I have is from RS. But the blaster is attached to the base, and I think that has to do with their license or something. You can't remove it from the base. The base also has that issue that I don't like about like the premium format Vader, where he's standing on like a mini castle. The helmet is standing on like a mini Endor bunker, which I don't like the look of that. I think the paint job doesn't look great. It does look very rattle can, like they used like an actual can of spray paint to do some of the weathering on the screen use helmets. I think the helmet that they used for the Kenner action figure backing had a lot of black towards the face. But I don't think it looks too stark. The helmet's very white, and then you have just splatterings of black. There's no in between with the weathering. So I would not, if you want my humble opinion, I would not pick up the Scout. They have a Vader. I think that's a great value for the Vader with the lineage that the Vader has. But everyone's, of course, talking about the Scout because it took so long. Also, I don't remember, because they have like a Legend Edition, which the Legend Edition was the one that was going to have the most lineage, probably more expensive in that regard too, the most lineage, and also the most accuracy as far as like what materials it was made out of. I think EFX kind of threw in the towel and decided it was too hard to do the ABS, and they did fiberglass. I think I had heard that, but don't quote me on that. It might be on Sideshow's website, and maybe I missed it. But yeah, I'm not crazy about the Scout.
I guess I'm not too sure. I'm not too familiar with EFX. Is that like another like RS type of like company, or is that like another distributor, or who's EFX?
EFX is a company that is licensed. I'd say it's similar to Regal Robot, but it's not. So there's a company I'm pretty sure this is right. Someone correct me in the comments. There's a company years ago called Master Replicas. They kind of set the bar for licensed props at the time. They went under in 2005. I believe some of the people who worked for or started Master Replicas ended up creating EFX. But the owner of EFX died last year, and we're hearing that might have changed some stuff up regarding the projects and the things that EFX has been working on. They, like I said, that Scout Trooper helmet is brought up a lot as far as like how not to treat customers, because they took people's money for it 10 years ago, and people are only just now getting it. That's like, I don't think you could. There's an example of that in the licensed statue world. They also lost their license to produce Marvel helmets because they just weren't. Again, they took pre-orders years ago for an Iron Man helmet that was electronic, and the faceplate lifted up automatically with hydraulics or some shit, and they just never did it. So yeah, EFX is another licensed company. They don't make a lot of products, but they certainly hold a lot of licenses. So that's come up before, where it's like they have the license for studio scale models, and they rarely make studio scale models. It's probably because they're just holding on to the license so that a competitor doesn't get it.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Thanks for coming to my TED Talk.
No, you're good. But John, so like, do you think, I just keep going back to PCS because PCS is doing something new for the statue community, but like taking this approach of having some type of lineage or some type of like, I don't know, whatever, better would have been better than the route they took right now, or they're taking right now.
So I sat back and thought about PCS and what they're doing, and at first when it was mentioned, you watch the video, you kind of get excited. It's something different, and you're like, wow, this is cool. But the more you think about it, you sit down and think about it. It's really nothing new. It's nothing we haven't seen before. PCS is, what have they done? They're bringing business to their website, and they're making pieces extra exclusive. It's been done before. It's nothing new. Mm-hmm. And they're giving you an actual metal coin as opposed to the one XM gave you that was plated. So, I don't know. Take it with a grain of salt as to how much you think PCS is offering collectors. I know it's still fresh. What they're doing in regards to this with the mask, I can appreciate it because, like you're saying, CC, if they're giving you that backstory, showing the lineage and the story of developing the mask and what went into it, and because I've always said I'd like to see these companies give artists and the creators more love than what they're getting, whether that be their names on the art boxes, whether that be on the for sale pages, putting their names in a little, or even the artist coming out and being able to do like a little bio as to what they thought, what they were thinking, what their vision was when sculpting either a statue or creating a prop or anything like that. So I appreciate what they're doing there, and I like the exclusivity there as well, because I think we hear it all the time, that lineage in the Star Wars world is very important.
Well, the exclusivity also goes to the fact that like you have the Y-wing helmet that originally like you could buy it for $600. You had to wait a while, almost 2 years for them to finish that project, but now it's sold at a prop store auction. Prop Store is the company that sells the screen used props and production made props. So it was, and they've also had like they had a whole TK like Stormtrooper armor that was used in Rogue One sell at auction for more than you could buy it off their website, which caused a lot of like ethical conversations as far as like, well, did the person who bought that not know that you could order one right on the RS website and it's going to have the same, like it's not going to be like screen used or matched to Rogue One, but it's going to be freaking close. It's going to be like that sister to the screen used one, if that makes sense. But the PCS stuff, let me ask you this, because I don't know if they've said, are these characters that they're doing statues that they're very limited, are they popular characters or are they more niche characters?
It depends who you ask, because right now they have Blade coming up. They have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. They're starting their NBA line, starting it off with Michael Jordan. They're doing the movie Species. I don't know if you ever watched that movie.
Yeah. Okay, so aside from Blade and the Turtles, all those other ones I would describe as niche. So it makes, because I think of it the same way I think of the Prime 1 Talon, where it's like they only did 350 and they're not sold out yet because not everyone appreciates that character, even though it's a beautiful statue. So I don't think that now if they were doing like Vader's, Batman's, Maul's, like the characters that we talk about how they do too many in the market, but they were limiting them to that much, that would almost be like the custom game where you've got a bit of FOMO because they're only going to do less than 100 for most of these customs. But no, if they're doing like the NBA line, I can't imagine doing more than, I mean, maybe I need to check my privilege in the fact that I'm not an NBA fan, but I think it's more about protecting themselves and their bottom line, where it's like they don't want to do 500 of these statues and be sitting on them for years because they're not as popular as they thought. So I tend to have more issues with people who are doing really high edition sizes than low. Mind you, if I miss out on anything that's got a really low edition size, I'm going to complain about it. But art prints is the same way. I have some art prints that were like one of 25 or 40, and then I have some art prints that are some of my favorites, and I love them just as much as the lower edition sizes, and they were runs of like 2,000. And you've got prints like the Ollie Moss set that was really famous that like you would find on t-shirts and like people still talk about them and still hunt them down. Those were edition sizes of like at least 1,000, and you can't buy one of them for less than $2,000. Like it doesn't. So I don't. I don't take much stock in the whole edition size thing. And also, I think what's helping is, and I'm going to go back on my card about art prints. So, like, Mondo had this situation where they got bought out by Funko, and then they laid off most of the people who had started Mondo in the first place, saying that they didn't like that the prints had low edition sizes, sometimes less than 200. They would sell out instantly, and then they'd be on eBay for 3 times as much with people flipping them. Flipping culture sucks. No matter whether it's art print, statues, helmets, whatever, flippers can go pound sand. That's not what I wanted to say, but I'm trying to be polite. So, but I think they were the only point I think that I could agree with is that they wanted to make the art more accessible to people. The only problem is I don't trust that they could actually execute that. And also, some of these edition sizes are low because if they're any higher, you're pushing the boundaries on what would on the kind of quality that can be delivered with big edition sizes. Like the Bausch, if you're doing 500 of those Bausch helmets, do you really think that they're all going to be as quality checked and as standard as you were if you're doing just like 100 of those, like a fraction?
No way.
But there are companies, so I guess Mondo is now hopefully going to try. I say hopefully, not. I'm not going to buy them, but they are aiming to do more art prints, bigger runs, so it's more accessible to people, and cancels out a lot of the flipping culture. And then you have companies like Vice Press, where they'll do a limited print that might have like 100, 200, 300, and then they'll have what they call an edition version, which is a smaller version, so that if you just, and it's going to be smaller and cheaper. So if you just want the art, just say you have the art and you missed out on the print, you're still getting something. It's just not going to be exactly the same. The quality is going to be different. And I like that because it means that if you are just a fan of the art itself, or you're not an addict like me who has a ton of art prints and you just want something to display on your wall, you're not concerned about whether or not it's a screen print. You want something smaller. You don't care how like the how it was made or anything, like, or that it's signed or numbered or what have you. Then yeah, go for it. That's better than getting a reprint or just printing something off a computer at home and putting that and chucking that in a frame and calling it a day.
Gotcha. John, what do you think of like CC's idea if they were to do a Batman and a Superman and like popular characters? If PCS were to take that route with a low edition size,
Oh yeah, I think things would fly.
they'll fly and people will like go crazy over them, right?
Of course.
Like people see, that's the crazy thing though too with statues. Like there's flippers like everywhere. Even with new,
yeah.
we got a guy right here who flips everything. Jose flips everything, man. He's trying to flip his pre-orders.
Flipping is just part of life. People will always do it. Concert tickets, movie tickets. It's part of life. You're not going to run away from it. But yeah, I think that's the problem with PCS right now. Is okay, sure they're doing different things and the ideas are there, but the licenses aren't for most people. So
Yeah.
you get a Batman or Superman. But then you're going to hear people saying, well, the market's so saturated in those areas, especially now with LBS having the DC license. Is it really worth PCS's wild to go ahead and tackle the DC license in third scale? Well, now we heard LBS is going to. If I was him in that position, I wouldn't touch it.
Star Wars is such a weird thing too, because I'm sure this helmet was in the movies probably like what, 2 minutes at the most, probably like 30 seconds or something. But people love Star Wars so much that they'll buy this type of stuff because it's part of the Star Wars universe. What in Star Wars wouldn't sell as fast as this would? Like
Jar Jar
this Jar Jar. Oh yeah,
Well,
that's perfect.
it's funny you say that because this helmet, this Leia Bausch helmet, was not on my list of I absolutely need to own it. And it's funny because I told Cash this because Cash is getting into Star Wars, and I don't know if he's officially getting into props, but I gave my 2 cents regardless because I tend to be that way. But I told him that when I had first started collecting and considering getting what I could hope to be the best of the best, like stuff like this Bausch, I made a list of what I wanted, and it really helped. And I, for the most part, have stuck with it. But I wanted to collect the bad guys, and Leia, like she's not one of the bad guys, but she does look interesting. She's in disguise when she's wearing that helmet. I don't think that design is like everyone. If you ask someone, what's your favorite helmet design? They're probably going to say Vader. Hell, they might even say Kylo Ren. But I don't think there's a lot of people who are like, the Bausch is my favorite. I know people who say the Bausch is their favorite. But we're also like, I don't say nerds, but if you like, you didn't know how to spell Bausch. You're still a Star Wars fan, but like it doesn't mean that this is
I'll
going to be
edit
your
that out. Don't worry.
Bausch is a more niche helmet. It's more unique. It's different. It's weird. When you ask if you show a picture of this helmet to a little kid, they're not going to say, "Oh, that's Star Wars." They might not remember that it was in the movie at all. So for that reason, especially, I think that also it might be one that's kind of not as prevalent to find in the prop community, just because it is such a pain in the ass to make with the leather and the electronics and everything involved. So yeah, for me, it was I made the option of getting a helmet. I never dreamed of being like a grail or something I wanted to hunt down in my collecting journey, but I don't think anyone's going to make a helmet better than this one when it comes to Bausch. Yeah, Boba Fett's an easy answer. I feel like a lot of people can tell you Boba Fett's badass character. His helmet looks amazing. It's so weathered. It has all this battle damage. Like, it's just badass. Total badass. This one's weird. Like, is it a droid? It's got a weird freaking snout. Like, it's got like it's leather on it. Like, it's yellow. It's blinking green. But I'm trying not to derail the conversation, so it's just about helmets and props. But I mean, I think the helmet stuff, like we talk about it for everyone like me who collects more than just one thing. Like, I collect more than statues. But with statues, there's so many different companies that are constantly competing for your money. And with this RS helmet, I don't think you could say the same. It's like no one's doing helmets like RS is doing helmets. They don't have much competition, in my opinion. There's some people who, like, they're known for, hey, you want a TIE fighter? This is the person you get a TIE fighter helmet from. You want Bo-Katan's helmet? This is the person that does Bo-Katan's helmet really, really well. Go to that person. But RS, like, everything they do is really great. And like I said, they strive for the lineage and the accuracy. So I don't think that there's the other Bausch helmets out there, I don't think can hold a candle to what they've done, even in the prototype that they've worked on for 2 weeks, 3 weeks.
That's crazy.
See, if a company, I think that's what's lacking in the Star Wars like the statue game right now, right? There's no company producing licensed product. If a statue company got the license, would any of your collecting habits change?
So we've heard, like, I think Queen Studios has said a few times that they'd love to have the Star Wars license. I believe XM still has a Star Wars license, and there's a rumor that they're going to do a Vader eventually. And of course, you have Iron Studios that's doing the Vader on Throne that I have on order, and they did the really, I think, one of the best, if not the best, licensed Vader was the Iron Studios Hoth Vader. Yeah. So, and then you have Sideshow. You're right. There's not a lot of licensed companies doing Star Wars statues, or rather doing them really well, in my opinion.
Like tackling them like a third scale Prime 1 line, let's say.
That, and also I see it, I think, more with Star Wars characters than I do with most things. I mean, with Star Wars, we complain about the same thing that Batman statue collectors complain about, or Marvel. They do the same freaking characters. With Star Wars, it's a lot of Vaders, it's a lot of Mauls, it's a lot of Lukes. Like, I have a custom Thrawn because I didn't think they would even do a Thrawn. This was before he was going to be, in the Ahsoka series. But even after he's in the Ahsoka series, I don't know if they're even going to give us a Thrawn statue afterwards. So I think that I have an Infus Nest. No one's done a licensed Infus Nest. They're not going to. So that's why most of my statues tend to be custom, is because they do characters that licensed companies don't. So that's what sucks. And I said this even with the props, where you've got people who have the license and aren't making the most of it. There's plenty of other statues that they can do. There's so many different Star Wars characters. I think Sideshow's probably been the most prolific, as far as they've done the Jyn Erso. They've done the dioramas. There's one they did a few years ago with Vader choking the dude in the hallway, and I thought that was really cool.
Oh,
They did the really cool one, I think it was a premium format, with Yoda like stabbing that clone in the chest. So they used to do really great things, but they're either not pumping them out as much as they used to, or the ones that I do see, I'm not terribly impressed with. So that I'm pretty sure that Iron Studios Vader is going to be my first licensed Star Wars statue that I own. I'm having to think about that. Yeah.
it's funny that you guys mentioned if statue companies do Star Wars. I guess Iron Studios, Sideshow, and all of them, when they did start like producing them or start making them, is when Mandalorian came around. Because you saw a Mandalorian statue, you saw a Gideon statue, you saw an Ahsoka statue. Like as soon as the series started pumping out, it was a bunch of Mandalorian stuff. So I feel like when the new Ahsoka series comes out, Ahsoka, Thrawn, and all the other characters that were mentioned for that series is gonna start pumping out. And what the new movie is gonna be coming out like in 2 years, I think they're gonna start, new series. But I don't know. We'll see.
Well, I honestly think I'm just as impatient with the art prints too, because they've only done two licensed. Two licensed. I don't know if that. Can you say who's doing that? Because last I heard, it was still a maybe. But let me know, because I have insider information about that render. Because I love that render. I thought that was amazing. But I don't have they've only done two licensed Andor prints, and
Oh yeah.
that show was amazing. I'm like, why the
I love
hell
it,
haven't
too.
they? And even someone mentioned, asked me what I saw the question, asked like what my favorite Star Wars movie is besides Rogue One or Solo. It's Empire Strikes Back, because I'm a basic bitch. And that's the most obvious answer I think most people give. But like, yeah, it's definitely Empire Strikes Back. But I was going somewhere with that. Yeah, so even Solo, Rogue One, they did a decent number of licensed art prints. Solo, I could probably list 5 off the top of my head.
Gotcha.
Even like Kenobi, I think they've done more. Maybe they've done a little more licensed art prints for the Kenobi series than they have for Andor. And I'm like, what the heck? That's so strange. Yeah, I think I'm going on a tangent now. I think most people who hold Star Wars licenses should do better, or try to do better, is what I
Or
think
lose
what I'm
them.
getting at. Or lose them. Yeah, I don't trust me. Like, so there's another. I don't want to go on a total tangent about props, because I know most people don't collect props, but there's another company for years that had the license, and it was Novos. Their license was for like the helmets and armor for costuming, like trooping, and not necessarily for display, because they're actually like two different licenses. They lost their license because they were taking pre-orders and not delivering stuff, or they're canceling stuff. And then the new company came out called De Novo, and the rumor is it's involving the same people as Novos. They just changed their name, and De Novo in Latin literally means like new beginning or some shit. So like, it's Novos went under, they lost their license, and so they kind of propped up as this new thing. You could pre-order stuff on their website. I have one thing on pre-order. I'm scared about it, but I looked at the quality of their helmets at Celebration, and I was shocked. Like, you could buy better things on Etsy for half the price.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
So license doesn't always mean like accurate or has lineage or what have you. But yeah, I think just with mind you, part of me doesn't want the Star Wars statues on offer to get better because I'm running out of space.
Well, like John says, you could always keep it in the freaking box. So
Boss takes up less space.
I had to approve those designs. Yeah, there's that too. Doug Rogers says, I just pictured their company logo being the same, but with a fake mustache on it. That's not a bad idea.
It's funny, Carl, because like I forget what it was, but there's been times where Disney's approved shit where you're like, you look at it and it's obviously wrong. Where like the lightsaber's the wrong color or something's weird. Like actually, this is some of the tea from Celebration. One of these exclusive art prints that they had on offer was actually one of the ones I was interested in. And it was Luke's like robotic hand, like reaching up, and it was like a segmented, like blown apart lightsaber, like the components with the kyber crystal, for his new saber, his Return of the Jedi saber.
That's cool.
Yeah. Well, right as they announced all of the exclusives, including that one, someone came out and said, "Hey, so like the schematic, like the lightsaber design, I drew that, not the artist, and the hand came from an Empire magazine cover, so like the artist didn't draw that either." So like that's a bit of a problem, right? Like there's this thing called plagiarism. So that was pulled at the last minute, where Disney had come out and say that they were refunding people and it was not going to be offered at the show. And they approved that shit.
Yeah. How did it get that far, right? That's interesting. Well, we came up to the hour mark. John, CC, do you guys want to bring up anything else? And thanks again, CC, for like explaining that whole lineage thing to me, because watching the video, you guys were arguing back and forth, and I was like, what's this lineage about? And everyone had different perspectives on it too. So I was like, glad I got yours. But you guys want to bring up anything else before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, I think we covered pretty much the majority of the mask and the whole lineage concept and exclusivity. I think it was well covered.
Yeah, I definitely agree with. I wish PCS took this route more than what route they're taking right now, but you know, to each their own, right? Yeah, but we're gonna. Well, I'm gonna head. I don't know. We're gonna head down to this guy's channel. He's gonna do an unboxing of another freaking XM freaking Transformer. I don't know what he's gonna do, or if his wife is gonna say anything tonight, but we'll see. But yeah, Crippler just got this like 5th, 4th, 6th Transformer, and he's running out of space. But
keep him coming.
Keep them coming, I guess. Yeah, that's what friends do, right?
Of course.
But everyone ready for Guardians this Friday?
Oh gosh. Well, it's funny because I haven't even seen Return of the Jedi, and it's back in theaters, obviously, till May the 4th, but barely May the 4th. The other thing I'm very excited about, and normally I wouldn't say something because I'm just like, everyone should know about it by now, and also I've talked a lot tonight, yet alone about art prints, but I'm fucking thrilled about Matt Ferguson's Return of the Jedi poster getting released this week, the screen print. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Mm-mm. John, I think you probably have.
I think so, yeah. If you posted it, I saw it.
Okay.
What's going on?
And I've definitely posted it.
Yeah, I see it.
It's the one. Yeah, I think I remember exactly which one.
I'll share it really quick.
With the right on the front, right? Yeah.
So that's the Empire Strikes Back. The one below it, you see the kind of greenish one?
It's the one on the left. The one on the left. Top left. One more over?
Well, don't pull up that website because that's a bootleg. Go down.
Right?
Second row.
Third row. Third row.
Nope, down one. And over.
In the middle. On the right. One more.
That one. So that is
nice. So this is a poster?
It's going to be 24 by 36. So it's going to be big. But most of them are. The only difference between this and the screen print is the screen print is not going to have the credit block on the bottom, which is those like tiny little white words you can see.
Yeah.
Or the returns to theaters part. And there's going to be, so that's the regular edition. It'll be timed. So when it goes up to the public on May the 4th with Bottleneck Gallery, you'll have, I think, three or 4 days maybe to order it. Maybe till like Sunday at midnight.
Oh, wow. So it's not going to be like a sellout and it's gone.
Nope. Because that's so the Empire Strikes Back one they did, it was timed because it was so popular. That's the one you keep seeing everywhere. That's like the turquoisey color.
Yeah.
It'll be timed. So they'll print as many as they sell.
Cool.
course, the Empire Strikes Back one he did for the 40th anniversary. This one he did for the 40th anniversary of Return of the Jedi. That's the quad version of it, so it has more detail. It shows Ewok Village, shows more scout troopers on the side.
I like that. Yeah.
We don't know if they're gonna make that, so I'm keeping my fingers crossed that there's enough love for this that they're going to do this. It would be 30 by 40, and also quads. If you're not familiar, because I'm not terribly familiar either, they're really synonymous with British movie culture. I love this one. I don't have this one. I have the color one, but they're synonymous with British movie culture because after World War II, that was the largest size they would authorize movie posters to be in because they had a shortage in paper.
Dang.
But yeah, so that's gonna go up Friday, and they're gonna have a limited variant, which is gonna be the black and white with pops of color. But that
What's the
artist
price point?
$3.95.
The last ones were $85. I think this one will be that much, or maybe a little bit more because of inflation and stuff like that. But the artist, if I hadn't said, is Matt Ferguson. He's my favorite artist of all time. And I screamed like I was at a boy band concert when they showed that print at the end of the Return of the Jedi anniversary panel at Celebration. And actually, he's a huge Transformers fan. He produced this as well, which is like a nod to, I think, Grimlock. So it's like a little like desk ornament. And then the first one he did, he uses this as his logo, is the unicorn. So he hides a unicorn, like the origami unicorn design, in all of his art prints, like his big ones. But yeah, Matt Ferguson, check him out. They did an article about him with the BBC, and it's a great article about how he got into it. It was basically he wasn't enthusiastic about the Avengers poster, so he did his own. He put it on Tumblr. It went viral, and Disney reached out to him, and he's been working with him ever since. I think that was like 2011. And my first art print I ever bought was his Star Trek one of his Star Trek ones.
Oh, you hate to hear it.
All right, we're gonna get out of here now.
So check that out on Bottleneck Gallery if you're interested on Friday, because I'll be picking up 2 at least, probably the regular and one of the variants. But I'm very excited. That's like my Christmas.
Awesome. John, Cece, thank you guys for stopping by. It was a good topic, I think, today. Like, it was definitely more insightful than anything. But thanks again, and we're going to bounce to Crippler's unboxing. But look forward to our next one. Hopefully, we get more news and maybe more art prints. I always get in trouble for like looking
be
up
able
stuff.
to actually show like the final screen print that releases Friday, so we'll have at least one thing to talk about
Monday.
You guys should just keep spending my money. That's all it is.
I know, that's what I was saying. I'm looking at these art prints and I'm like, crap, man. Like,
That's art prints. Next is comics, props. What's next?
That's what I'm here for.
Well, let me let everyone go and have a good day, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll leave this one for Cece right here for Matt Ferguson.
We're not worthy! We're not